The manhunt continues tonight for the shooter that ambushed two Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies as they were sitting in a patrol car.
We've actually been getting video stuff from dozens of locations around the area. We're analyzing it right now with our forensic specialists that are specialists in this particular area. And again, there's leads that are being developed and are paths that we're following, and hopefully we're making progress.
Just moments after being shot in the jaw, a female sheriff's deputy was able to pull her male colleague behind a concrete pillar and tend to his wounds. Remarkably, after sustaining serious injuries, the male deputy was released from the hospital.
They're facing a long road to recovery and a lot of subsequent surgeries because the damage inflicted, both took a round to the head and multiple shots to the arms. And so there's definitely going to be a very painful path for them, but thankfully no vital organs, and so their prognosis is good.
The injured deputies, whose identities are being withheld, were rushed to the hospital where they were met by a small group of anti-police demonstrators.
That's what needs to happen. These need to die.
That was followed by sounds of support and acts of kindness from fellow officers. The gunman is described as a black man, 20 to 30 years old, last seen in a four-door sedan. The initial $100,000 reward has since ballooned to over $300,000, mostly from donations from private citizens. Some are criticizing Sheriff Villanueva's recent interview on KABC radio, challenging NBA star LeBron James to match a $25,000 reward.
This challenge is to LeBron James. I want you to match that and double that reward, because I know you care about law enforcement. You expressed a very interesting statement about your perspective on race relations and on officer shootings and the impact that it has on the African American community. And I appreciate that. But likewise, we need to appreciate that respect for life goes across professions, across races, creeds. And I'd like to see LeBron James step up to the plate and double that.
The sheriff's comments came with immediate backlash, not from LeBron James, but from Vanessa Bryant, who is suing the sheriff's department after deputies allegedly shared photos from the helicopter site where her husband Kobe, daughter Gianna, and 7 others were killed. LeBron James spoke out in the wake of the shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin, and his team, the Los Angeles Lakers, was one of the 6 teams to boycott NBA playoff games in the wake of the shooting.
Well, he made some comments about a month ago after the tragic shooting of Jacob Blake that really, it kind of piqued my interest, and I was kind of concerned.
LeBron James has yet to respond to the sheriff's challenge, but Villanueva tried to explain why he felt James's recent activism made it fair game to call him out.
But it was emblematic of comments that I've heard from politicians, elected leaders across the spectrum, and including civic leaders who are jumping on a bandwagon that, for example, after the George Floyd murder, which it was, somehow there was a George Floyd in every single community, in every police department across the nation, and that there's a massive conspiracy against people of color. And I want to have that nonsense stop.
All right, our legal team of journalists here to discuss this ongoing manhunt and the case as it is unfolding. Court TV anchor Julie Grant, Court TV anchor Michael Ayala, and Court TV special contributor Ashley Banfield. Good to see all of you. Julie, I want to start with you. Are you surprised, given the amount of money that's on the table? And by the way, it's now up to $640,000, just announced within the last hour or two out in Los Angeles. Not only the amount of money, but the suspect seems to have a very unique gait after the shooting. It's just odd, and I thought this was going to be solved within a day or two. Talk about that and what that means for a trial moving forward. To me, it sounds like they're maybe looking in the wrong area, wrong person, and it could be an issue.
You are so smart and observant, Ted. Yes, he does have a very distinct gait, and without a doubt, all of those officers, investigators who are poring over the forensic evidence that they've already gathered are going to notice that, and they're going to be looking into it. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. One thing I've learned, both from being a reporter and being a prosecutor, is that law enforcement is always 3 steps ahead of where the public might think they are. I have all the confidence in the world that they are going to find this guy and he is going to be swiftly prosecuted, as he should be, to the fullest extent of the law. Life in prison without parole is the maximum possible penalty for that assassination attempt. And I have no doubt as soon as they catch him, that is what is going to happen, because this is the most reprehensible thing I think anyone could see. I mean, it's beyond disgusting what happened to those two heroes. And I do think that these investigators are looking over all that. Agencies, I'm sure, are collaborating on this one, Ted. It is beautiful that that reward amount is as high as it is. And I encourage anyone at home who may be following this case or may not be aware of all the facts to take a listen to the radio call that the female deputy put out. She can't even speak. Their world changed in an instant because of the actions of that sick individual. And so listen to that call, listen to it, think about it, and think about how these officers were doing nothing but making this world a better place that day when they were so viciously attacked.
Ashley Banfield, there's, you talked about it last night a bit on this program. It is horrifying to watch that video. In the last 2 days, there have been two separate suspects that blew up on social media, and the sheriff's department had to say, no, these are not the guys. How does that also complicate things moving forward when you've got what have maybe turned out to be false leads, but it adds some intrigue to this whole thing? Are you surprised that they haven't made an arrest yet, given all of the attention?
Nope, not at all. Because the way I see things playing out these days is that there's a camera on every corner. It is real hard to elude the authorities these days. And it could just take a little bit of time, right? Let things calm down a little bit. And then people get lazy and they slack off. And right now, mark my words, there's a four-door sedan that police are pretty darn aware of. That was the getaway vehicle. And whoever was driving that sedan, because this guy got in the passenger side, that guy's on the radar too. And so with all of the cameras all over every street corner, every business, every ring.com that they drove by, that license plate may just come into view. And you start surveilling that guy, and he might just lead you right to the shooter. Sometimes it just takes patience and it takes a little bit of quiet gumshoe. And I guarantee you that that's what's happening right now in a number of different precincts across LA. They are going over in real time the video that they are collecting from dozens and dozens and dozens of sources. They'll find them. They'll find all of them.
Michael Ayala, Sheriff Villanueva, calling out LeBron James, saying, you commented on the case in Milwaukee. We need you to comment on this. Is that fair? What's your take on it?
Yeah, an informal survey of the web, social media, friends, colleagues, I think the general feeling was that it was extremely unfair to LeBron. LeBron has every right to believe what he wants to believe, and to drag his name into this, they felt sullied his name and, by extension, sullied Black Lives Matter. He has been a very vocal proponent of it. A lot of his views mirror Black Lives Matter. And so by connecting him to this in some way, even loosely, suggests that maybe those ideas, those thoughts being espoused by those groups and by LeBron may have had something to do with bringing this about. Now, he said that he called him out because of his comments after the Jacob Blake shooting. I want to just give you one example. He said many, many things, but let me give you one example of what he said. LeBron James said, "Why does it always get to a point where we see the guns firing? We are scared as Black people in America, Black men, Black women, Black kids. We are terrified because we don't know. You have no idea how that cop that day left his house. You don't know if he woke up on the good side of the bed, if he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You don't know if he had an argument at home. That's what it feels like. It hurts. It hurts." Now, that's indicative of some of the things that LeBron has said, and he's also said many things in support of police. So the point that a lot of people make is, look, Villanueva, you have a lot of problems in your own house. Don't call out these folks who have no connection. You said it mirrors comments of political and civic leaders. Well, that's the arena this is in. Call them out. Don't call LeBron out. I think it just serves to add to the distrust. Why are you calling LeBron out in this situation? If you really wanted LeBron's participation. If you really wanted to get a bridge between the communities, connect with him privately, right? Why not just get him privately and let him create the dialogue that he wants to create publicly instead of you throwing him in the arena that way?
Ashley, this is it seems as though there's this divide that is growing by the day that has just, it's always been there, but over the last 6 months, year, it's growing. And the police, the sheriff out in LA County, by bringing LeBron in this way, the reward going up over $600,000, it seems as though there's this police, protect the police, and I'm on the police side, and I'm maybe on the Black Lives Matter side. But you had the same disgusting feeling watching George Floyd and watching these two officers get shot. Why are they mutually exclusive? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. Spot on. There's Julie, you're right. I mean, applause. Why can't everybody be like you, Ted? I mean, it isn't mutually exclusive. You can support police officers and appreciate that they protect you every day, and that every single time they pull a car over, their lives are at risk and their husbands and wives are wondering if they'll get home. That's a really hard job, and I'm too scared to do it, so I'm thankful that others are doing it for me. It's okay to think that way and still realize that America is there's a toxic soup of unconscious bias, and it's not just the police. Maybe you're seeing it right now with police videos, but it's everywhere. Why are people suspicious? Why is there a suspicion of Black people at all? So I think we all have to really look inward and stop polarizing groups and suggesting if you're with me, you're against them. That's just not the way it is. And I believe the majority of Americans really does have an affinity for both positions. I think one position is afraid, though, more and more to say anything because of cancel culture. They're afraid to say, I do support the police, because they don't want to be canceled. And I think that is also a very damaging proposition. It certainly doesn't lead to more conversation.
Yeah, difficult situation indeed. Hopefully they will find this suspect sooner than later. Ashley, Julie, Michael, thank you. We're going to step